With the rain still coming down, we decided to spend the day exploring the west side of the park and made the rainy 28-mile drive to Wetherill Mesa. For the next 4 hours, we walked the fully paved path just over 5 miles and got our first looks of the famous cliffside dwellings. Despite seeing countless photos of these cliff dwellings, as we arrived at our first stop, which was Longhouse Overlook, I was completely in awe, and the only words that were coming to mind were, "Oh, how cool." It was the understatement of the day. Staring across at this massive community, it was hard to believe the structure was even real, never mind it being a 150-room community and home to upwards of 175 people. While the spaces within the cliff dwellings were simple and access to them was not the easiest of feat, they were incredibly functional and ingeniously designed. Not only did the cliffs provide shelter from the elements, but they also allowed for rainwater and melting snow to flow down the back sandstone walls and emerge as a spring in the alcoves, providing a reliable water source directly to the people. Further along the path, we came to the Badger House community. Over the course of exploring the 4 preserved sites of the community, we quickly learned that the cliff-dwelling communities were not the initial structures here at Mesa Verde National Park. The first permanent homes were pit houses. They were simple, circular depressions in the ground consisting of 4 posts in the floor and smaller slanting poles which supported a roof covered in brush, bark, and adobe. Over many generations, the building styles changed dramatically. Pit houses became sturdier, more circular, and deeper underground. Adobe walls were later constructed and strengthened with bark and grass and sticks. And after 1050, they began including masonry walls, which were laid 1 stone thick. And later, builders began using shaped sandstone bricks and laid them 2 stones thick with a core of dirt filling to support the larger rooms and multi-story structures. One of the many interesting features of this community was that the homes were modified, expanded, destroyed, and rebuilt regularly to meet residents' needs, or just to cater to personal preferences. This meant that when the land was excavated, archaeologists would uncover overlapping walls within a single structure, which would show evidence of distinct periods of construction over time. It was here that we also finally learned what a kiva actually was. These sacred places were constructed from a circular pit and reinforced with masonry walls and columns. While smaller kivas were a very common feature of villages, only 8 great kivas have ever been found within Mesa Verde National Park. One example of these great kivas is found in the community center in Badger House community. After archaeologists came through and discovered it, they backfilled parts of it and even left some parts unexcavated to preserve the rooms within the structure, but even seeing just the top portions of the walls was completely mind-blowing to take in. One thing about our visit to Wetherill Mesa is that each portion of the day built up to an even more incredible experience. After stretching our minds around everything we had already seen and learned, and taking a short break for a picnic lunch, we headed to what I found to be the highlight of the day, which was visiting Step House. With just under a mile walk to get there, we were able to go directly inside this small cliff dwelling in a type of self-guided tour, and even chat with a ranger who was stationed there. It was a really incredible experience to be in that space, knowing that centuries before, this was actually someone's home. And even while I was being mesmerized by the stonework and the petroglyphs that were present, I could not help but laugh, imagining one thought. If only they knew that years after their passing, people would be in absolute awe just touring their living room. Looking at the cliff dwellings, it's really astonishing to think of how people access them, let alone came and went on a daily basis carrying food and tools. Most of the time, the entries to the cliff dwellings consisted of hand and toe hold trails chipped into the rocks. A lot of them included wooden ladders. However, the people of Step House were a bit more advanced and constructed a stone staircase. Having enjoyed a full afternoon of exploring, the storm clouds had finally dispersed, so we headed back to the campground for our traditional campsite happy hour and some dinner. Later that night, we got to enjoy some stargazing and were able to see views of the Milky Way. Staring up at the sky and taking in everything we'd experienced in our first full day at the park, I couldn't help but recall a conversation I overheard between a couple earlier that day. It was a woman, and she turned to her husband and she said really enthusiastically, "Well, we're here. We are finally here for a couple days to just solely enjoy. This weekend, it's all about learning and living." And I loved that so much. So with that, the name for this very blog series was born.